Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and I am here with my man, Merrill. Hi, honey.
Hello, Linda. How are you doing?
Hey, babe, you realize that we are in July now, and we are halfway through summer. Our kids go to school like less than a month from now.
Yes, they do.
Woohoo!
Yeah, keep it together. Keep it together.
Wow. I'm sure there's some parents out there that are counting to the days down.
Yeah, for sure. I know this house is, but I think we were reprimanded once about saying, I don't like when my kids go. I like my kids around.
Yeah.
And we don't sound like very good parents when we talk about
our kids. We love our kids, but we
love them when they're
in
at school.
But honestly, we've never been one of those sets of parents that are so sad when they're getting on the kindergarten bus or when they're getting to school full time or when they graduate. Like, we always are excited about that new season. So,
right.
We're excited for that. And, we've had our vacation already. I'm sporting our Sedona mug. Actually, this is your.
Pretty sure that was mine as a gift, and I have
this
yet
is your
to
Sedona
use
mug.
it.
But we did. We went out west this summer, and that was really cool. Making some memories with the kids that were. I'd never been there. You had been there, but the kids had not been there. So that was really fun.
Leads me to a topic.
Yeah.
Let's talk today about kind of the fun in the summertime.
Ooh.
The making the fun. We are limited in the number of weeks we have.
That's
we are
true.
talking to families, and sometimes we spend a lot of time talking about parenting and talking about how to resolve issues and all this, and that's good stuff. But sometimes we just don't talk about having fun, messing around, screwing around, enjoying life, those kinds of things. And so I think it would be fun if you and I just go back and forth a little bit and talk about why vacations have been and are important. Maybe as a prompt that some of you who have not been on vacation or don't see the value in it, that maybe it prompts somebody to say, you know what, we're going to do that. And you know what prompted this with us recently? Because we went out west, right? Remember? And it was prompted because I did a little recording with our older sons, who don't live with us anymore. And, just not to get into the whole history of it, but we we used to always record our kids at least once a year to say, it was around New Year's usually. And we talk about what was good, what was bad, and all that. Well, it was really, by the way, it's a great thing to do to keep a little record of your kids.
Yeah.
And they grow through the years. And each year you go, oh, man, what a great.
And we ask them their first, if they have a boyfriend or girlfriend and who their friends are and what they want to be when they grow up. And so it's really cool when they're a first grader saying that, and then you're looking at it when they're 21.
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool.
And they're still dating the same girl. So, whoa, what happened there? Anyway, but and I recorded that conversation, and I had you listen back to that. And one of the things that our boys said is, we loved the vacations that we took, but we only took a few special vacations. It was very typical for us to go to Hilton Head because that's kind of what our family did with your family and stuff. And so that was kind of the given, which was really fine, but we only took a few kind of off-the-wall vacations out west or something very different, a level of rest but a level of adventure or just seeing new things. And both of our older boys said, one, they valued that very much, but two, that we wish we would have done it more.
Is that why you think they're both in the Navy? Because they wanted to see the world?
I think they're about ready for that vacation to come to an end, though.
Well, and that's true. I mean, and we're going to get to this, but our family went to the same vacation for 25 years.
Yep.
We stayed in the same area. We almost stayed in the same rest stops. I mean, it just was one of those things where my mom and dad are creatures of comfort and routine. And so that was what I grew up with. And I'm kind of the same way. So that was very hard for me to go out of my comfort zone. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And so what happens, though, when you do that is, even though in that moment or that week you are vacationing and resting, they all start to blend in. You can't really remember one from the next because, like, oh yeah, well, I'm laying in the exact same spot as I laid last year at the beach. And so
I park at a little different spot when I
last year I parked in this spot right here, and so they all start to run in, and so you don't have any outstanding memories. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about why it is important, the fun in that, but the learning also that happens in it because of the exposure to different places. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. We're going to make fun of ourselves or make fun of some of the experiences, but we better thank a few people first.
Yeah, we want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Maxwell Construction for their support of Rock Solid Radio. We cannot do what we do without their support. So these are community partners who've come alongside us, who really support these positive messages. So please support them.
Okay, a couple of brief announcements. Oh, by the way, Scarlett's show.
Last week's show. If you did not catch last week's show on sex trafficking, friend of ours, Scarlett Hudson, who has a ministry called Women of Alabaster.
Yes.
An amazing episode. Please check it out from last week.
You've got to hear that as a parent and just as a person in the community, to recognize how that industry is blooming right under your nose, possibly even in your house, which is really kind of freaky. But when you get these sort of weird invites to be friends and stuff like, well, I don't even really know that person. Well, guess what? Your kid's probably getting those too on various social platforms that they're on. And all of that is a bit of a dark under circle of things that go on that are in the human trafficking and sex trafficking industry. So Scarlett really shined a light on that. She didn't scare us to death because she gave us tools.
Yes, she did.
She gave us tools on how to parent through that. So you got to go back and you got to listen to Scarlett Hudson's show.
Yeah. We also want to thank you, our listeners. We are so thankful for your support and sharing these shows and giving us ratings. And 5-star ratings really helps to move us up on the search engines. And so we really appreciate that. We know there's people who are listening really all over the country, all over the world. And by the way, one of the latest ones is India. Isn't that crazy?
That's the one that scares me, hon. That's where that...
the trolls come from.
Yeah. But if you're in India and you're liking what we're doing,
please
and
let
it's
us
helping
know.
you,
We'd love to know
drop
who you
us a
are.
line.
Yeah.
Drop us a line. Love to hear that.
For sure.
Also, hon, I want to put in a plug for our premarital counseling or coaching program that we do. This is something that I think a lot of folks don't really always think about. If you come in through certain churches like the Catholic Church, you'll have like a premarital counseling program that's pretty much required. But a lot of churches don't have any kind of requirement. And it is kind of mind-boggling to us, hon, oftentimes when we have a couple who's considering getting married and they come into us and say, hey, we do kind of want to make sure that things are good or know how to handle certain situations. And you in particular are licensed to run the Prepare and Enrich program, which gives a whole screener on how couples line up, how they handle different situations, and how that compares to each other. And hon, it's a little bit alarming oftentimes on how unequal couples are, and they don't know that unless it's kind of revealed. They might have a hint like,
I wouldn't really call them unequal. It's more misaligned. Like they're in different phases or going in different directions when it comes to like parenting and when it comes to sexual expectations or money. Those are things that they have very different opinions on. And so it's not really a matter of right and wrong in this inventory that they do ahead of time online before they come in to see us. It's really about how the two of you kind of mesh together.
Yeah,
how your answers coincide.
And if you are off a little bit from meshing, like how can you bring that together before it becomes a source of conflict? So anyway, please reach out to us at Rock Solid Families if you are considering marriage, or you know somebody who is, and you want to, even as a gift. We oftentimes have parents give it as a gift to their kids who are getting married or considering it, and it's a gift of just priceless value to get the marriage started off right. So give us a call at 812-576-7625, Rock Solid Families, and let us see if we can help you get started on the right foot in marriage.
Yeah. I tell couples all the time that come in, because we've been doing premarital counseling for over 20 years, and it's just crazy that they'll spend so much time and money on the cake or the photographer, and then nothing on preparation for the day after the wedding, the life together. So we want to really prepare you.
You'll spend thousands and thousands and thousands on divorce, but you won't spend a couple $100 on the pre. So anyway, good point there. All right, let's get to the business. Tell me some stories about the same vacation you took.
No, I'm not going to tell stories about the same vacation.
Okay, so what'd you do?
So, again, creature of habits, that was our go-to.
Right.
You, by the way, benefited from that many times.
Actually, even through dating and marriage, I got
we would go to Hilton Head Island,
go.
Palmetto Dunes.
And I think it should be stated, it wasn't that those weren't fun and enjoyable.
No.
They absolutely were. But I can't really, in my mind, separate at all 1 year from the next. Like, I can't tell you, because literally they were on the same condo area and the same beach. So they all blood. I just can say for 20 some years I went to Hilton Head.
Yeah, but and again, I'm so thankful for our parents who provided those opportunities for us to get together. And it is a memory I'll remember. But I remember the year my family decided it was Disney year. Remember when we did that Disney year? It was oh gosh.
It's now, a scar, actually, but yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people out there who love Disney, so I'm not here to offend you at all. But Merrill and I are not amusement park riders.
No, we're not amusement park people, and we're not ride riders.
Yeah. And so I wasn't as a kid either. And so here we are in Disney World, and we had gone with our grandparents, and my mom thought it would be a great idea to fit Disney World, Busch Gardens, Cypress Gardens, and SeaWorld all in the same vacation. It was crazy. And so we did that. And there was only Magic Kingdom at the time. That's how old I am. And so we went, and I remember that I didn't want to ride Space Mountain. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people out here listening that have rode Space Mountain. That's your favorite. But for me, Space Mountain actually brings back horrible memories, because I was like freaking out, scared to death, didn't want to go. It's dark. People were screaming inside, and I was petrified. And my grandpa said, "I'll ride with you."
Yeah.
And so I went.
Big Willis.
Big Willis. And I'm telling you what, I cried the entire ride.
That reminds me of one of our sons doing that trick.
I cried the entire ride. And I was so embarrassed that I had cried that my mom bought me this little hat. And it had a little, and if I find a picture of it, I'm going to put it online. It had a little sun visor, like could cover your eyes.
Yeah.
And I wore that the rest of the time at Disney World, because I was crying and I was. But I remember that vacation,
Your mom tried to buy you back into happiness.
Exactly. Oh, gosh. But it got me out of my comfort zone. So when we went with our kids, remember, we tried to do that. And I was like, I could do Space Mountain now. And we had a child that was freaking out. And I was like, Zach, you can do it because I did it, So.
Yeah. And well, let me tell the rest of that story. So we went, your mom and dad were with us on that trip, and your dad and Zach, our youngest, climbed in the seat behind.
Second oldest. No.
Second oldest, yeah.
Was youngest
climbed
at the
in
time.
the seat behind Nick and myself, and Zach started crying at the beginning. How old was Zach?
I don't know.
Was he 18 or 19?
18.
No, just teasing
Zach,
Zachary.
we love you.
Yeah. And I don't know. He was a little bit of guy, 6 years old or something like that. And all of a sudden, at the start, he starts crying. And I'm like, oh, man.
I was having deja vu.
Because it wasn't just like a little cry. He was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Or like, how all of a sudden you hear click, click, everything. Like, oh, it's getting real now. And all of a sudden it starts to move. And I'm thinking, well, it starts moving. He's going to stop. he bawled his eyes out the entire time. And I couldn't even focus on the idea that we were on a ride. I felt so bad because this kid was just petrified. And your dad's back there, it's okay, Zach, it's okay, put your hands up, and everything. And I was like, oh, we had to probably pay for 3 years of therapy.
Okay, so if you're listening out there, we're not saying you force your kids into something they're petrified of.
No.
We're not saying that, because I was scarred and so was Zach. But I do appreciate parents who try to challenge their kids outside their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Whether it be first time snow skiing or first time on a roller coaster or, hiking down a mountain or whatever it is, like to give them that opportunity to do something different.
Yeah.
And that's where memories can be made.
Yeah.
So how about you?
So we did. In fact, we never went to Florida. Like Florida was off limits. It was literally
everybody did it, right?
Everybody did it. And so my dad said, "You'll get to Florida at some point in your life. Oh, I don't need to take you there." That I do remember that because growing up, like a lot of families went down to Disney. Disney was relatively new down in Florida back in those days, and everybody was going and talking. And he's like, "No, you'll get there someday. I don't need to spend money taking you there." So we always did a different vacation, and we did vacation pretty much every year. And so the one of the most vivid ones that I remember is my mom and dad bought a pop-up camper. Okay. And we had camped before, but my dad was all excited. He bought this pop-up camper, and we pulled it down to Myrtle Beach, and we camped on the beach,
which I think is cool. Do they still do that?
Yeah, there actually is still a site. Not too many years ago, I was back down there again for something. I forget what it was, and there was camping on this beach area, and we thought that was the coolest thing in the world. It was a campsite. It wasn't like Dad just roguely pulled up and we were on the beachfront. But,
along with the homeless population.
Yeah, but we were on the beach and this pop-up camper, but it was a different kind of pop-up than normal. It opened up and then the two slide beds went out the side. But then it had this huge tent that zipped on the front of it. So it wasn't like your typical pop-up.
Okay.
It had this big dining fly area that went out.
Uh-oh.
And so you're kind of like part tent, part camper, but it was big, but sand was everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sand was, because you just couldn't get away. You're on a beach.
Oh, yeah.
And, but one of the
That would drive me
coolest things
crazy.
about that is every night they had a big bonfire down on the beach right there at the water's edge. And one night they had scary stories.
Oh, gosh.
And so all of us kids were around and we're listening. And this guy, he's telling this story about a swamp monster.
Oh, no.
And we're like, oh, he's telling us. And all of us kids are just excited. And he's telling us about the swamp monster. And all of a sudden, coming running, because we are on the beach and the water is right there on the edge. All of a sudden, this swamp monster comes running out of the water, and he's yelling.
Out of the
and
water?
screaming. Yes, and he has like algae and all this
Maybe it was
seaweed
one
all
of
over
our
him.
sons
And it
coming out,
was so
maybe.
funny. Us kids started screaming and everything, but then we started laughing because the guy actually just kind of revealed himself. But it was fun, and obviously I still remember it. So that was just a really cool
So what's
thing.
the lesson in that for you? Lessons from summer. What?
Well, it was one of the first times that our family was so excited because one, it was a new camper. It was camping on a beach. Nobody camps on a beach,
Except the Hutchinsons.
So it was camping on a beach. It was a new camper, and just everything was about the beach that week. And that was actually the very first time I ever saw the ocean.
Oh, cool.
That I remember. I may have been, when I was really a baby, I think I may have gone to Atlantic City or something at one time, but I don't even remember that. But this is like, I remember seeing the ocean and seeing how big, like it just never ended.
Yeah.
So that was a big memory of just being neat.
As we talk about making memories, I just want to make sure we're really clear. We're not saying you have to be well off or rich to go on these vacations, because honestly, some of my favorite memories were a weekend that my parents kind of organized with some people from work, and they would go down to Butler State Park, which is in Carrollton, Kentucky. So it was about an hour away from us, and we would rent little cabins, and every family rented a cabin, and we had a whole street reserved. And so that was actually the most favorite vacation for us was this little weekend. It was usually around Labor Day or the end of summer, and we had a ball.
Yeah.
And I can remember junior high into high school that we would have bonfires and they would all bring food out together and share food, and then, tents outside of the cabins, because who wants to sleep in the cabin? You want to sleep in a tent.
Right.
And it was just so fun. But I mean, it was at a state park and it was over a weekend, but it was about the people that were there and the memories being made versus the money that was being spent.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go far.
No. So I want to tell about the time my dad said, we're going to go out west.
Oh, so did you go to Sedona?
We did not.
Oh, okay.
So this was before Denver was really much of a city. Okay, so this was in 1972.
Man, we are really showing our age.
Yeah,
Disney World was just starting.
Yeah,
Denver
actually,
wasn't.
the Earth was only 3 years old, so you got to remember it was. So these things were brand spanking new back then, but Denver was just starting to be heard of, and everybody, like back in our area, I remember my dad was a beer drinker, and everybody's like, "Oh, you got to get some of that Coors. You ever hear of Coors beer?"
And was that Boulder, Colorado, or no?
Golden,
Colorado. That's right.
And so now this is where one of my stories where at the time I didn't think about it, but now I think you kids got nothing on us.
Why?
Because we had 5 kids. Mom and dad, so that's 7. We were in a 1968 Galaxy 500.
So I don't even know what that is. Is that a car?
That is, if you look at one today, you're like, oh my gosh, that's like maybe made for 4 people, okay?
It's a collector now.
Yeah, and we pulled a camper.
Oh, okay.
No air conditioning. At the time, the speed limit was 70 miles an hour. And we had 3 people in the front, 4 people in the back. There wasn't a seatbelt to be found anywhere on the earth at the time. And we flew out to Estes Park, Colorado. Okay. And
your parents are brave.
There was no complaining though. Like there was none of this like, oh, we can't do this. It was like, yeehaw, this is so cool. This is fun. And so we drove all the way out there. And one of the things, like my dad said, I want you to see the Rocky Mountains. Okay. And I do remember, like, if you've ever driven in to like the Denver area, when you approach that on Interstate 70, when you approach that, all of a sudden you start looking up and you're like, what are those clouds? Way out. And all of a sudden they start to form into these things we call the Rocky Mountains. And I remember I was sitting in the front seat on that part of the ride, and I was overwhelmed with like, look at those, because they are like no other mountains you see here on the east side of the country. And so again, that's why we went. We had a fantastic, all of my siblings and I have great memories about Colorado, and my dad drank Coors beer. Got it.
Well,
check.
What's so funny is that we try to take our 2 oldest, this is before we adopted our youngest 3, we try to take them out west, and we went with your sister and her family, and we were going to try and reenact that whole Estes Park trip, right?
Yeah.
And so we had 2 rented vehicles. Do you remember this? And
I'm not sure if I want to remember everything you're getting ready to say here.
I got to tell the story. I didn't tell you I was going to tell the story. I didn't know I was going to tell the story. But we tried to go to Estes Park. And we were driving, and man, it was like sharp.
We were over in Silverton,
okay.
and so that's actually quite a bit away, from Estes. So you kind of have to go across the mountain range.
Yeah.
And we thought we'd just go ahead and do that.
We thought we'd do this. So we got ourselves a little snack, and we got ourselves a little drink, and we're heading to Estes Park. Remember this? And Merrill bought this 44-ounce gulp, like this gigantic Slurpee frozen, and he was so proud of himself because
that thing tasted great.
It was sugar-free. So it's like, I can have 2 gallons of it because it's sugar-free.
This is not going to go well. I think I'm going to have to take it over from here. So I am slurping down this Slurpee and driving through the mountains, got the kids in the back. Look at these mountains, kids. And I'm just taking down this big Slurpee. And all of a sudden, if you've ever seen the movie Dumb and Dumber, and you remember the toilet scene, Well, all of a sudden, I'm driving through the mountains, and I've got about 2/3 of this little slurpy, gulpy, slushy thing down, and all of a sudden, my stomach starts doing flip-flops.
Oh, my gosh.
And I look at Linda, and I'm like,
I'm not going to make
it's not good, honey. I'm not going to make it. And now we're out in the mountains. So, I mean, literally, if you go up in the back country of the mountains, it's not like there's a gas station around the corner.
No,
okay?
needless, not even like a place to pull off. Like there's a guardrail and a cliff drop. So like, what are you going to do?
And there were no GPS.
No.
So we didn't have
This is for
GPS.
GPS.
Yeah. And so I am now the one guy driving through the mountains at 80 miles an hour going, holy cow. And I'm just holding things together, if you know what I mean, without getting too descriptive. And of course, no support and love in the car at all.
Well, Mark and Julie have no idea in the other car why we're going so fast and what's going on, because obviously this is before the days of cell phones too. So
right.
we don't know how to say that, but
So anyway, we are flying around, and I finally come around the corner, and I see a sign for Grand Lake. You're saying, how does he remember that? Listen, when you have an emotional disturbance going on, you get memories etched. And so this
Grand Lake will always be a favorite.
Grand Lake, okay, like I'm seeing life, and I see like a beach sort of play area, and I'm like, we are going to get there now. And I drive to Grand Lake and pull in this parking lot, and there's 2 porta potties. And
right by the parking lot.
I said more prayers in that time, and I got to that porta potty, and anyway, that's the rest of the story.
No, that's not the rest of the story, because you have 3 kind of junior high-ish boys who thought this was the funniest thing since sliced bread, that you are dying here. And so they decided to make your life just more miserable
while I'm in the porta potty.
By rocking the porta potty.
They're literally rocking it with me in it. And I mean, I'm laughing, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. And I'm like, boys, when I get out of here, this is, well, not only are my boys laughing, but so is my wife. My loving, supporting wife is laughing at me, and my brother-in-law and my sister are laughing at me.
That's just a memory, though.
And I'm just glad that I could make such a... So the moral of the story is...
What's the moral of the story?
The moral of the story is that artificial sweeteners can cause bowel disruption. So be very careful if you're on a road that does not have quick access to restroom first aid.
Yeah, or if you want a great vacation, buy a Slurpee. We never made it to Estes Park.
We did not make it to Estes Park because between just exhaustion and everything, we were like, okay, we're kind of done with this trip.
We turned around. So, because you wanted a picture. You wanted a picture of our family in front of the Estes Park sign that you had growing up.
Yep.
And we never quite made that reproduction of that. So, anyway.
For all you that are interested, my shorts stayed clean.
We made it. And Grand Lake will always have a special place in your heart. But what we're point is yes, we're having some fun and we're laughing at Merle's expense.
I'm glad you scripted this part into it.
I didn't have that in my notes, but the point is that we want you not to waste the summer. We don't want you to look back when school starts. And yes, we are kind of excited about school to start, but it's only because we've spent a lot of days on vacation the last couple months. And so we know that we've made some memories and we've had some fun, and we want our kids. We know there's not many years left before our kids are out of high school and out of the house. And so honestly, Sedona and the Grand Canyon was one of those places that we wanted them to see before before they moved out of our house. So
and sometimes the most stressful part of vacations can actually turn into the best memories. And so you kind of have to remember that. Like there's certain parts of vacation, whether it's the travel or the hotel or the tent
the bowel
or whatever,
disruptions,
the bowel disruption, the things that like in that moment are driving you crazy. Those are the things that actually they do etch memories. They do create fun, and you got to learn to laugh at yourself. If anything that you can learn from these kind of things and pass on to your kids is, and we ask our kids, what was the fun part about that? And it's not like Well, we went to Disney World.
Right.
No, it's these little things that happen that there was no scripting. In fact, if you have to script it, it probably isn't going to be fun. And so that whole idea that you just kind of let it happen, you enjoy each other in the time that you're at, and don't take yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say that because that's not me. I'm usually the person that's got the plan and I have the schedule, and I worry about us running out of gas or, not making it down the mountain. But honestly, if I would let loose a little bit more and I would let go of the details and just enjoy the moment, I think that it would be a better experience. So don't do like I do a lot of times, and then I look back and say, why did I get all worried and uptight about that?
Well, it prevents us from even taking the trip to begin with.
Yep.
Like, no, that just sounds like too much of a headache. And I have to say, as I've gotten older, I've fallen more into that. Like, that just seems like a hassle. And I would say that we consciously. Our older boys called our attention to the idea of don't miss out on this with the younger ones.
Yeah.
And so I think without their prompting, we probably would have just let life pass. And so now we are more conscious about it. We are planning and talking about doing more different things with the idea of not knowing how they're going to turn out because they're in unfamiliar territory. But it also is a great way for us to learn.
I've seen a lot of families, especially through COVID, that got really creative in this, and they bought tents and they bought campers, and they took out and did some things just out in the woods and out at a campground and out in the backyard because of the fact they couldn't go on an airplane or in a hotel. And so it's really been cool to see families get creative. And some of our favorite memories was camping with our kids and just the bonfires and, sleeping in the tent or the pop-up. So
those are the 2 to 3 day kind of things. And so they don't have to be as much of a big deal. But the idea that you're doing something different, you're not necessarily in your element, and things can go wrong, but it's how you get through those wrongs that teach your kids how to problem solve, but also teach you not to take yourself so seriously.
Yeah, thanks for.
I'm so glad my shorts stayed clean though, because that might have not.
I'm
turned
sorry,
into a funny
I didn't mean
story.
to bring him that, but once you mentioned Colorado, I knew where I was going with that. So yeah,
it was a Rocky Mountain high, baby.
Thank you so much for listening to our shows and supporting Rock Solid Radio and Rock Solid Families. We hope that, we've had some fun today. We pray that you keep laughing and making memories with your family because, you don't have many years with them and you don't want to wish it away.
Yeah. So, this is part of us keeping our family strong. And this kind of creates glue to get you through times that maybe are more challenging. And it's like, you know what? I want to keep that family together because it is a source of energy and strength and just that coming together. So that's why we promote these kinds of things. That's why we had some fun today, even at my expense, and that's okay. So you know what? We just want to thank all of you again, as Linda just said. We want to thank Maxwell Construction and Casey's Outdoor Solutions for all of their help in supporting what we do here at Rock Solid Radio as well as Rock Solid Families. So again, thanks for listening to Rock Solid Radio. Building a strong community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
You want to go get a Slurpee?
I cannot believe you brought that story up. You did not tell me you were going there.
I didn't know I was.
Oh, my gosh.
I love you. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.